Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. We got another Washington Commanders weekly stream, and I got my guy Rio from Rio Robinson's channel, of course. Make sure you guys check him out. Just click the title. His channel name is in the title. Great Commanders YouTuber, one of the most, I would say, creative Commanders YouTubers, posting a bunch of different stuff. The vlogs. I know once the season start, that'll come around. The OTAs,
Can't wait.
training camp, stuff like that. Preseason, if we have a FedEx Field practice, which I don't know if we'll have, he'll have the vlogs out for that. So stay tuned for that. And of course, draft content this week. He'll be live, and yeah, should be a good one. And yeah, how you doing, Rio?
I'm doing great, man. We're 4 days away from the NFL draft. This whole season of speculating and mock drafting, and if this guy falls to here, trade up, trade down, we can finally put names to faces and come home with some new talent on the roster, man. I'm excited. How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. I'm nervous and excited, kind of like last year with Carson Wentz going into the season. I was excited, but also nervous. So yeah, I'm nervous, but I'm also very, very excited to see who the Commanders pick at 16 or in a trade back scenario. So let's actually first start off with that. What do you think they'll do, and what do you want them to do in terms of staying put at 16, moving up, or trading back?
For one, I don't see this staff as the type of staff that moves up ever because, we're more of a conservative group over here. But I definitely see us trading back. Like, I doubt we pick at 16 unless I think the only way we pick at 16 is if someone who's not supposed to be there is on the board when we get to Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, Paris Johnson Jr., Broderick Jones, Peter Skoronski. I think outside of those, like, 5 names, they're not staying at 16. I think they're Martin Mayhew. Ron had to look over at him and tell him to relax because he just was going on all day about how much he loves the concept of trading back and adding more darts to throw at the board. So I think ultimately we're going to trade back to like the 20s, and that's where we're going to go in the first round. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's the ideal scenario for the Commanders. I think that's what they want to do, and I agree with you. If Christian Gonzalez is there, or if Devin Witherspoon's there, I think they'll trade up. Or like you said, Paris Johnson, Peter Skarnowski, however you pronounce his name, out of Northwestern. If he's there, I think they'll trade up. Maybe I don't think they'll trade up into the top 10, but I could see them going from like 16 to 13 and giving up some assets. But if that doesn't happen and they have like 2 to 3 guys they really like at 16, then I think they could trade back to like 21, 22, get some assets, and also still get whoever it is, Deonte Banks, Brian Branch, maybe one of the second-tier tackles like, Darnell Wright or Anton Harrison. So I think that's what they will do, and I think that's what they should do, trade back, get some assets, get another third-round pick so that you can maybe get a linebacker or another player to fill one of those, holes that you have. And I also wouldn't mind if it doesn't have to be with the top pick they get besides the first round pick, but let's say they get obviously the first that they trade back with, maybe like a third, maybe they get a future third as well. Like I wouldn't mind getting some future draft capital as well. I know that's probably not on the mind of Ron Rivera and Martin Mayhew because they're fighting for their jobs right now, but that's something that I, wouldn't mind them doing. Let's say hi to some people in the chat. What's up, Will? What's up, Brian, Ben, JP6, Ecom, and Young Money D1. Appreciate all you guys for coming through, and you guys can ask some questions. We'll go ahead and answer them.
Draft week, y'all. It's draft week, y'all. Get hype.
4 days away, close to around this time, we will be, or I guess the draft will be starting. Young Money D1 says, I'm hearing Stroud could slide. Thoughts on trading up if he slides outside the top or 8 to 10. I don't think I think he could, if he slides, it'll be from, okay, he's going from 2 to like maybe 5. 3, 4, or 5. Yeah. I don't think there's a 0% shot he goes after like 7 or 8 not 0, but like less than 5% that he goes after 8 or 10. If he's there at 10, I would trade up. I mean, I think he's a very, very solid quarterback. And, I am more sold on him than like Anthony Richardson and definitely Will Levis. So I would trade up for him. Will Levis, no, I don't want him if he's there at 16. If he's there at 16, there's a reason he's there at 16. And also, you can trade back if you really want to, and a team who wants him might go up and get him, and you might get more value than you normally would because it is a quarterback. Anthony Richardson, for me, I think he's got potential, but I would probably just pass on him just because I think he's very like polarizing in terms of like some front offices and scouts will really like him, some won't. And if we get a new regime that comes in here, like there's like going to be a 50-50 shot that they don't like him and they're forced in a situation where like they're kind of handcuffed a little bit. So for me, I'd probably, in the same situation, if Anthony Richardson's there at 16, probably trade back. But I don't think, again, I think both of those guys will go in the top 15. And yeah, I would be happier if we drafted Richardson though than Levis. I'm assuming you agree with that or no?
Yeah, and I don't even think a Laramie Tunzel gas mask video could push Stroud out the top 5. Like, I don't see a slot. Like, if he gets past 5, I'd be floored. And then I would have to ask, did something significant? Did he do something terribly wrong that nobody knows about? Because it wouldn't make sense to me. Like, he's so much more polished than Fields was coming out. So Fields sliding to 14 when Chicago traded up to get him, that made a little more sense, even though I think he should have been drafted higher than that. There's no way Stroud gets outside the top 5. And I like Anthony Richardson's prospects. Like, he's one of the most toolsy, traitsy guys we've seen in the history of the draft. But we don't currently have a regime that has the longevity or the leash to draft Anthony Richardson. They would literally be drafting him for the next regime. So, I mean, no. They honestly, I don't think we're going to draft a quarterback. I think even the quarterback we get to put on the roster and be QB3 is going to probably be an undrafted free agent. Like, I don't think we draft a quarterback in the class. I think this year is Sam and Jacoby or bust. It's Sam Howell season. And that's what's happening here. I don't think we get a quarterback. I definitely wouldn't touch Levis. I'm cool.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if we drafted one like the 6th or 7th round. That's the only way I see us drafting one. If, Aiden O'Connell or Malik Cunningham or whatever, Dorian out
PTR.
Out of UCLA, he's good. And then, Stetson Bennett, who knows? Any of those guys, you can get a guy in the 6th, 7th round to potentially be a backup. Okay, that's fine with me because the 7th rounders usually don't amount to anything besides Cam Curl. And the only reason he got to 7th round was because of the COVID year, and you couldn't really meet in person. And a lot of people said his, he probably would have been a 4th or 5th round pick if it wasn't for COVID. So I think you look at our 7th round picks, Shaka Toney, William Bradley King. I'm trying to think. Dax Milne, he's all right. He's not like anything special. And then who else am I missing the last few years? 7th
It could be Chris Paul could end up being something,
He could end up being something, and we drafted one other 7th rounder this year, right? Or no?
Yeah, we Christian Holmes.
He's okay. He's a special teams guy. A lot of these 7th round picks, like I'm not a big special teams guy in the 7th round, but if you see a guy that is like an elite returner or something, I wouldn't mind drafting an elite returner in the 7th round. Or if a kicker,
I'm taking a kicker in the 7th. I'm taking a kicker in the 7th.
Honestly, this is I've been thinking about this, like looking back at our 7th round picks and a lot of the 7th round picks in the league. A lot of them don't do much. So if you can get a kicker and you feel good about him, I'll take one in the 7th round. For sure.
If you're a team that can trade up and trade next year's 5th round pick for a long snapper, then you can definitely draft a kicker in the 7th round. Because that's what we did to acquire Cameron Cheeseman. We traded next year's 5th, and we ended up having to trade back and get 2 5ths from Carolina to get Howell and Turner last year because we didn't have a 5th coming into the draft because of the Cameron Cheeseman trade. So if you're willing to do that for a long snapper, do it for a kicker because I don't think Sly's the guy here.
Exactly. And Frost 40 Below says we definitely need a returner. I agree. Whether it's, kick returner, Gibson's got the potential, but he was so like boomer bust. Like he had some good returns and they had a couple where he just dropped the kick. He just dropped the kick and we start at the 10 or something. Dax Milne, yeah, he's the least explosive returner I've ever
seen. He catches it.
Reminds me of Trey Quinn, but this is what I've been saying to people. He did not drop a single punt. I remember in 2020, every time the opposing team would punt the ball, I would be praying that Stevenson would just catch it. So that's all I'm saying, guys, is just remember that. And yes, Dax Milne is not great, but he'll get you 3-4 yards and he'll keep the ball. So if we can find a guy, that's great. If not,
that man does not do anything after he catches it down. Like, yo, when he gets like 7 yards, it's like, yeah, let's go, Dax.
Yeah. If he gets over 5, it's a win. But yeah, again, he does not fumble, which is a huge thing. I mean, he's like exactly like Trey Quinn was. Trey Quinn did not do anything. He just caught the ball, maybe got 2 or 3 yards. Yeah, DeAndre Carter was good. Would have been nice to have him. Yeah, Gibson did not fumble this year. It's a miracle. That's what Ecom said.
He didn't fumble because Brian Robinson took his job. That's why it was less exposure. You know, we weren't treating him like a bell cow anymore.
Yeah, I hope this year we use him how he should be used and as like primarily pass catching back, and even like almost more than McKissick in some scenarios where like he'll run actual routes. Like McKissick did a lot, but a lot of his stuff was like very short stuff, and he did stuff after the catch. Like Gibson in the Jacksonville game, I thought Scott Turner used him really well. And it was like, okay, that's the first game of the season. I was excited. Like, I think he had like over 45 receiving yards, might have had a receiving touchdown. And I was like, okay, I'm hyped. He's going to be using them the right way. And then he barely did. He would get like 1 reception a game. He had a couple, like he had one play. I can't remember what game it was, but like he ran an actual receiver route into the end zone and caught a ball. So hopefully.
The Packers game.
Yeah.
Packers game. Heineke hit him in the back of the end zone. It was beautiful.
And that's like, why didn't they not do that a lot more? I mean, Scott Turner's an idiot, but still, like
that play in week 1 when Carson hit him on like a post corner or so. It was like a deep out or a corner,
too, right?
Yeah, that joint was beautiful. Right over the sidelines. I was like, oh my God, yes, we finally figured out what to do with Antonio Gibson, man.
Yeah, and then we barely did it at all. So hopefully that's how he's used. And yes, I'm still fine with him getting carries because you don't want Brian Robinson to be like destroyed by the end of the year. So give Gibson, I would say like 6 to 8, 6 to 9, 6 to 10 carries a game, and then give him 5+ targets as a receiver. That's how he should be used because he's he can do good things in the receiving game. It just, he hasn't had that much of an opportunity to do so. So let's go. And I know Rio's going to have the video out with the predictions, but I'm going to give, I don't know if I'm going to give my prediction now. I still don't know. I'm going to have to actually sit down and think about this. And then I'm going to send.
Hey, we can always change our mind. It's a different world today than we'll be on like Tuesday, Wednesday.
But I'm going to send Rio that video today or tomorrow. So of course, when is that dropping?
I'm going to drop that Wednesday, the day before the
Okay. Draft. So that video is, I remember last year that was hype. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. He's basically
went 0 for 36.
To be fair, we did trade back, which threw a wrench in things. Which last year I watched hella film, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna choose like 8 guys to watch film on. I looked at all the guys that we could possibly pick. I was like, okay, these 8 guys. It was like Drake. It was like all the top 4 receivers. And then
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, Kyle Hamilton, maybe a couple other guys. And I watched like 4 or 5 of their games each. And I was like, okay, whoever they draft, I'm going to know everything about them and their strengths and weaknesses. And of course, we go there, trade back. I'm happy about the pick now, but we traded back and got Jahan. And I knew a little bit about him, but I didn't know enough. So this year, I watched less film, but it's still a question on who we draft. Like this year, it could be, honestly, there's probably like 5 to 10 different guys it could be. And honestly, even at 16, like if we stay put at 16, there's probably 5 different guys it could be. And then if you trade back, that's like, who knows? Who knows? So yeah, there's a bunch of different guys that the Commanders could draft at 16. But that prediction video will be very fun to watch. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday on Rio's channel. Basically a bunch of Commanders YouTubers and content creators and stuff like that posting like a 30-second prediction video. So that'll be good. Stay tuned for that. Anything else to say about that?
Oh, yeah, man, I'm excited. I want to see someone get it right this year because even though we traded back, like not one person, like even the off the grain predictions, not one person said the name Jahan Dotson in a 40-minute video of people predicting what the pick's gonna be. I think this year we have an idea, and then they're gonna hit us with a curveball, and it's gonna be something nobody. We're gonna draft Miles Murphy in the first round or something.
And hey, that's a good segue. What are you, I'll go first, and I'll get your thoughts on the edge rusher at 16. For me, I'm a big no. I do not want to draft an edge rusher at 16 unless, and this is not going to happen, but if Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson's there, then you can think about it, but they're not going to be there. Those guys are probably both going to go top 5, definitely top 10, and Jalen Carter is going to go top 10 as well. I just think that, yes, Chase Young and Montez Sweat could be off the team or on another team in a year, but currently they're both under contract for this year. And they're both former first-round picks. You look at other positions, offensive line. We have holes in the offensive line now, not in the future. Right now, we have holes, and in the future. Same thing with, you could say, tight end. We have holes right now. We do not have a good tight end on the roster.
At all.
Yeah, at all. Cornerback. We do not have a starting slot cornerback. Right now, we do not have a starting slot cornerback. So, yes, you can like Ben Standig's been advocating for it. I just think when people are saying that, they're trying to they're trying to be too smart, because yes, you need an edge rusher eventually, but right now there's other positions, still premium positions, like cornerback is a premium position where you don't have a starter there. You know, the slot cornerback, you do not have a starter. So if they traded back into the late 20s and one of those guys that's really good is there, I still wouldn't like it, but I would be happier about that than someone at 16. And then you can start to really think about it in the second round. But my preferred one would be you trade back in the first, you grab a corner or tackle or whatever, and then you get another third round pick, and you can use one of those to get an edge rusher. Because also, if you draft a guy in the first round, he's going to be playing 25% of the snaps. Mm-hmm. And I personally don't want my first round pick playing 25% of the snaps. So that's kind of my thought. What are your thoughts on the edge rusher at 16 combo?
I don't want an edge rusher at 16. I could see a world where if they were to trade, what up, Ed? But I can see a world if they traded Chase Young where they would take an edge rusher immediately. But like Roger just said, which he had a good comment just now, Chase Young doesn't have much trade value right now. You may be able to swindle and finesse on the mock draft simulators and get a first round pick for Chase with ease. He's not commanding a first round pick in real life. He's not commanding a second round pick, in my honest opinion, right now. I think the most we'd get for Chase is a couple threes, but we'll see. But I don't think we're drafting an edge in the first round. I like the edge class as a whole. There's good depth there. So you can get the successor to one of the guys we may let go in the next couple years in the mid rounds or on day 2 and 3 of the draft. This edge class is deep, man. There's a lot of guys here. So I don't really see the need of Miles Murphy or Nolan Smith or anybody at 16. And I think we're in for possibly a surprise at 16. I don't think it's that position though.
Exactly. And yeah, Chase Young, I love the guy. He's got that alpha dog in him, but this there's no excuses, 0 excuses for him this year.
What up, Simp?
Yeah, what's up, Big Simple? Appreciate you coming through. And same thing with Ed, of course, both of those. You guys know both of those, but make sure to check them out. But yeah, this is a big year for Chase Young. He's healthy. He played a few games at the end of the season, so he got a little bit of the rust off of himself. There's no excuse. He needs a double-digit sack season, or it's just I'm already trending, and I know you are as well, towards he's not the guy we drafted with the number 2 overall pick. But this is his last year. This is his last season to prove that, prove people wrong. Because if he goes out there, has a 6.5 sack season, plays all 17 games or 15 plus games, and just isn't that much of a presence, then we'll know. If he goes out there and goes 10 plus sacks, 2, 3 forced fumbles, and is a game record, then okay. Then we can start having the conversation, franchise tag him or something. Or if we really feel good about it extend him for a few years. It's a big year for Montez Sweat as well, but at least we know Montez Sweat is like a very solid pass rusher in this league, and he just needs to finish. And I could see him getting a ton of sacks this year because he's motivated with that contract because he wants that money. He's got a kid as well. Like he's going to want that money, and I think he could have a big year for sure. So, yeah, we'll see. But Chase Young, no excuses. Put up or shut up.
I just feel like with Chase, like I've lowered the bar of what I expect his output to be. And I don't even think it's not just the sack production, it's the eye test on passing downs. Most of the time, he's not impactful. He gets taken out of plays and washed out of plays. As soon as you engage your hands on him, it's like he's done. If he doesn't beat you off his first step, he doesn't really have anything to get past you or get around you.
Exactly.
And that's a problem. Like you hurt your knee, your hands still work. You could have been working on technique and stuff. I love Chase. I want Chase to be great. I think the great window is left, and I think we just need him to be good at this point. If he needs to be Jadeveon Clowney at this point. And that a lot of people that are going to hear that and say, oh my God, no, Jadeveon Clowney's solid. If Chase can be solid, we'll be straight because he got some dogs next to him. Them 3 dudes next to him are really good. So we don't necessarily need him to be 17 sack guy. Would be great, and it would change the trajectory of our defense and our team in totality, but I think that ship is sailed.
I mean, I'm not all the way there yet, but like if we go through the first 4, 5, 6 games and he's the Chase Young we saw in 2021, then I'm gonna get there. But yeah, he just like there were times in 2020, his rookie year, where he wasn't getting sacks, but he was wrecking the game. Mm-hmm. We didn't see that in 2021. Like very few times where we saw he was actually making impact plays. So that is something we'll just have to see him do this year. And kind of pivoting a little bit to another possible thing they do is running back. So for me, I love Bijan. I think he's an elite running back. I would not take him at 16, but I would prefer Bijan at 16 over an edge rusher because, again, whoever we draft at 16 as edge rusher, he's not playing. Bijan Robinson, like I love B-Rob and I love Antonio Gibson, but he's starting, of course, over them, and he's significantly better than them, and he's going to be an impact player in his rookie year. Edge rusher, whoever we draft there, they're not going to do much. And you can say the same thing about like, okay, we draft a cornerback. He might not be elite in his first year, but at least it's a position of need, and he'll be an upgrade and probably, hopefully, be elite down the line. So I think you are a little bit not higher on Bijan than me because I think he's great, but you're a little higher on drafting him at 16. Is that right or no?
I don't think this team is going to draft him at 16. I love Bijan though. Bijan he's a dog. Like Bijan is different. I don't care what nobody said. Like when I look at Bijan, my eye test, he looks like LaDainian Tomlinson to me. The way he moves, how patient he is, how quickly he like switches in his lateral agility, he's different. But we're not taking a running back in the first round. But I think there's another offensive position that we need to talk about, though, because we have 2 decent running backs. Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, if anything, they're decent. We don't have one proven decent player in the tight end room right now. We have a couple experiments. We have a late round guy, and there's not one guy in the tight end room, but if you say the words Michael Mayer or Dalton Kincaid at 16, people lose their mind. Oh my God, you can't take a tight end in the first round. Why the hell can't we? Why not? Why not? There's not one dog like certifiable. This is a starting tight end guy on the room, and that's including the starter, Logan Thomas, who I personally, nothing against him, don't think he should be on the roster this year.
Yeah, and I mean, you really look at the room. You got John Bates, who we know what he is at this point. He's a blocking tight end, and that's it. He should not be getting targets. You got Cole Turner and Armani Rogers, like you said, experiments right there. And then Logan Thomas, I agree, should be out. Like, as much as I hate Scott, I hated what Scott Turner did last year. Like, there was so many times where there would be a solid play design, and then, I mean, I guess maybe not solid because you had Logan Thomas blocking, but Logan Thomas would just get absolutely beat as a blocker. Like that Giants game that we tied, the first one, we were in like 2 or 3 yards or away from field goal range, and then we run like it was just a handoff to I think it was B-Rob. It might have been Gibson or Samuel. I don't know, because Turner loved to do that. But then Logan Thomas missed his block. I think it was to Thibodeau, and it was like a 3 or 4 yard loss. And then we were screwed there. So yeah, we need a tight end. I am not as high on Mayer as I am on Kincaid, because like I haven't watched any film on both of them. But when I watch the highlights, at least, like Michael Mayer, like he's open, which is good, but he doesn't offer a lot of yards after catch, which is like what I want in a tight end nowadays, is a guy like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews. All those guys are just great after the catch. Michael Mayer reminds me of Cole Kmet, and Cole Kmet is a solid tight end, but like I'm not drafting Cole Kmet at 16. Probably not even drafting him in the top 40, 45 in the draft. Like he's a good tight end, but I think Kincaid though has that potential of being a guy that can get you over 1,000 yards as a tight end. And if you draft him at 16, will I love it? No, but I'm not going to hate it. And if you trade back and get him, I'll be fine with the pick for sure. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Michael Mayer, maybe not in the first, but Dalton Kincaid, I'm with it.
Oh yeah. See, with Michael Mayer's more the classic tight end. Like he's a dog, and he offers the blocking aspect. With Dalton Kincaid, he doesn't offer anything as a blocker. And I'm okay with that, because it's 2023. I want a tight end that can get busy in the pass catching game. And when I look at Kincaid, I see a guy that can produce like Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert, a top 4 tight end, top 3 tight end in the league right now. I want that. I want that badly. And not just because we have Eric Bieniemy now, who coached Travis Kelce for all these years. I need a dog in that room. It doesn't have to come in the first round, but there is at least there's 6, 7 tight ends I'm interested in this class. And I could totally see Ron ignoring the tight end room because he's loyal to a fault to his guys and wants to keep Logan Thomas, which is his experiment, on the roster. So we got 2 tight ends that used to be quarterbacks on the roster. And then we got John Bates, who's a blocker. And we got Cole Turner, who looked amazing for 2 weeks in camp last year as a 5th round pick. We're just gonna run it back. We're gonna run it back with the best tight end class we've seen in the last 8 to 10 years. We're just gonna not take one of them. I really hope that's not the route we go, but I could totally see it. Just like we ignore linebacker, I could totally see them ignoring the tight end position and not taking one in this class.
Yeah, and for me, I would be okay drafting one in the first or second or third. After that, though, I don't want another project where it's like, okay, he's a Cole Turner type player. Yep. So that's my thoughts on it. He says you didn't watch Notre Dame games. Well, I mean, I didn't watch a ton of Notre Dame games, but when I was watching the highlights and stuff, and that's his best plays are his highlights, not a lot of yak with Michael Mayer. And I don't think that's a hot take. Like, I really don't think so. And you even said it yourself, like when you're talking about his strengths, he has good hands and a good body type.
Dalton Kincaid's a basketball player, man. He only started playing football as a senior in high school. This guy literally just started. And basketball players translate to that position very well. They move they're very smooth, innate athletes. So,
and he has yak. And honestly, Darnell Washington also intrigues me. He's got yards after the catch ability, and he also is a good blocker. So wouldn't mind him. Luke Musgrave, I don't know. I mean,
I like Luke Musgrave. I like Luke Musgrave.
In the second. He's probably going to be there around where we draft, maybe a little bit earlier in the second. Mm-hmm. That's an option for the Commanders as well. But I don't want like a 5th, 6th round guy just because it's another like Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, like roster, like fringe roster guy. So let's go into, give me like your top 3 to 5, sorry, guys, that you would want at 16 for the Commanders. Like, not necessarily like Christian Gonzalez, because I think we would all like him.
Realistic.
You can include Witherspoon in there. I don't think it'll happen, but like there's a slight chance it happens.
So we're talking realistically speaking.
Yeah.
Okay, I literally dropped a video on this today where I dropped, just to plug the channel, I dropped a video. There's top 5 most realistic
I saw that.
options for the Commanders at 16. I'm not counting Witherspoon, Gonzalez, Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, or Peter Skoronski. I don't think any of them get to us. And let's just be realistic about what's probably going to be on.
I'm not sure if I'm lagging or if it's Rio. I'm just going to check the channel real quick. It might be me. It might be me. I'm not sure. I'm trying to see real quick if I'm the one who's frozen or if it's him. Well, just give me a sec. I'm trying to check on my channel real quick. Okay. It's Rio. So let's see. Okay, yeah, it's Rio. So I was just making sure. For me, I don't know. I think, is Broderick Jones really going to be, and you guys can answer in the comments, is he really going to be in the top? Is he going to be in the top 15? I thought it was going to be a little bit later. That's personally, I thought it was going to be Broderick Jones was going to be there in the 20s is when he was going to get drafted. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have heard not just Rio say that, the other people as well. But even at 16, I don't know if I want to take Broderick Jones. I would think about it, though. Paris Johnson or Skornowski. I got to be able to pronounce his name. If one of those guys are there, I'm drafting any of those 3 guys, and then Christian Gonzalez or Witherspoon. Those 5 guys are the top 5, guys I want for the Commanders. But realistically, I'll answer, and then Rio will come back on. Banks is one that I really, really like. Darnell Wright is another one. Those are 2 right there. Brian Branch is another. That's 3. I'm trying to think besides that. Those are my top 3 if we're not including Witherspoon. But I'll put Witherspoon in there for now, even though I think he's going to go top 15. I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, could go tackle, maybe Don Kincaid in there as well. You guys can throw out some names. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments down below. And yeah, Rio said he'll be back in a couple minutes, so should be good right there. But yeah, JP6 says, what about Darnell Wright? I wouldn't mind Darnell Wright. He can play inside or outside. So that would be a good option. Paris Johnson as well, but he plays all those positions basically, but he's probably going to be drafted before then. Well, those are kind of my top 5. I just hope we don't do like a crazy one like Anton Harrison. I could see that happening. Or I'm trying to Bijan, or like an edge rusher if we drafted Miles Murphy or any of those guys at 16. I would be totally done. I would just be super, super upset. If I had to guess though, it'll be offensive line is going to be the pick at 16. I think that's what it'll be. If they trade back, maybe it could be something else. People have mentioned Emmanuel Forbes. I think at 16, that's too early. Even like if we trade back late into the first, I'm okay with it. Roger says we need to cut Leno, Logan Thomas, and Roulier. Logan Thomas, I agree with. Roulier, maybe. Leno depends on what we do in the draft. What's up, Art? Appreciate you for coming through. And of course, make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new. Subscribe to me on the road to 11K. Also subscribe to Rio. Just hit his name in the title of the video. And let's see. King Sean says Anton Harrison too. I don't really want him. At 16. And yeah, if we traded back really late, I would be okay with that. What's up, Diego? Appreciate you coming through. Let's see. I take tight end second personally. That's what King Sean said. In the second round, I don't know. If Darnell Washington's there, Luke Musgrave, I'm okay with it. But if none of those guys are there, I don't think we'll want to take a guy in the second. But I think Darnell Washington will probably be there. We'll probably be there at 47. Give me your guys' worst case scenario. What at 16 would be absolutely your worst case scenario for the Washington Commanders? For me, it's edge rusher. If we draft Miles Murphy or whoever we draft, if we draft him, that is my worst case scenario. We got Rio back in here. For a second, I was like, I didn't know if I was frozen or if it was you, so I had to go and check on my phone. But
Yeah, I tried to text you, man. Like my computer just decided that it wanted to do an update, and it restarted my computer. And
I saw your text.
we were talking about realistic guys on the board at 16 for Washington.
Yeah, your top five.
Top five. At number one, I had Darnell Wright because he offers their favorite words, position flex. He's an absolute dog, and I think the league finally caught up as we got closer to the draft to how good he is. Like against Alabama, he made Will Anderson look like Shaka Tony pre-parlays. You know, he made him look like not a factor in the NFL draft. Like he took him completely out the picture. Number two, I had Deonte Banks, cornerback out of Maryland. He's someone I feel like I know is going to be on the board at 16 for us. He offers everything we're missing in our DB room, which is elite speed, 4.35. The guy went toe-to-toe with Marvin Harrison Jr. when they played against Ohio State. And he has a good, solid build, too, on top of it. He doesn't have the ball production as far as interceptions, but he could go on the inside or outside because, honestly, we need a number one corner, man. Like, I don't think Kendall Fuller's a number one. I think we got two number twos with him and St. Juice. Number three, realistic guy. I think I had Brian Branch, which is new, significantly upgraded Bobby McCain. Not a speed demon, but everything on the field looks great. He plays with his hair on fire, and he gets absolutely to it. He can hit, he can cover well, he runs step for step and stride for stride with receivers. And just thinking about him, Forrest, and Curl being on the field together, it seems like that could be a special unit. And then I got Anton Harrison, the tackle out of Oklahoma. We talked about him a little bit earlier off camera. I could really see him being the pick in a trade back or at 16 because another guy, these guys will all be on the board there. And the number 5 is a pick I don't want. I don't like guards in the first round. I know you can find a good guard in the first round, but in a trade back, I could really see Osiris Torrance being the pick to start at left guard. I don't want it. He's good. He's big as hell. He's not very fast, but he moves well for his size. I could really see that. So it was Wright, Banks, Branch, Harrison, Torrance. I think one of those 5 names is like 100% going to be the pick in the first round.
Yeah, and for me, like I'll be happy with Branch, Banks, and Wright. Any of those guys at 16, I'll be happy with. But also, if those 3 guys are somehow there, and you have a team that's like, okay, I'll trade back with you from 16 to 20. Go ahead and do it because one of those guys will likely be there, especially if you just have your predictions out and see who, at 17, 18, 19, and 20 are picking. You can kind of predict who will be there at 20 or wherever you trade back to. So that's kind of what I would do. So you think Broderick Jones will go top 15? Is that what you're kind of seeing?
I don't think he gets past Green Bay, New England, and Chicago. I think Broderick Jones. I think his combine solidified him, because he looked like an absolute freak at the combine.
Because I think Paris Johnson and Peter out of Northwestern, those two for sure will go in the top. They're not going to be there at 16. Like those guys are probably over Jones, right? You would say, or no?
Yeah. I would have Jones right after them as far as the O-lineman ranking. And even if Jones was on the board, like, are we for sure they want a left tackle?
I don't think so.
Ron's loyal. Like, just like with Logan Thomas, they're going to do the same thing with Charles Leno. Like, they love Charles Leno. They don't see him like fans do, which is a guy that gets beat a lot more than he should to be a starting left tackle. And he's a feel-good story because he was, a 7th round pick who turns out to be a starting left tackle in the league. But he's not very good. He's not terrible, and he's not good. He's mid.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think if Broderick Jones is there, like, I don't think it's a guarantee they take him. They probably do. If Demarius Young says if Gonzalez is there at 16, I would run to the podium. If Gonzalez is there at 12, if he's there at 12, I'm running to the phone and calling whoever was picking at 12, I forgot, and asking for a trade because if Christian Gonzalez is there, I'm 100% taking him. I mean, we know 3 quarterbacks, probably 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10. Then you throw in Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson, and Will Anderson. So that's 7 in the top 10 that we know for sure. And then I'm trying to think. I think one receiver will go before we pick, probably Jack Smith and Jibba. So that's 8. And then what other positions that I'm missing that we don't want? So non-cornerbacks or offensive line. So that's 8 that we did. Maybe like a edge rusher will go before, like besides the 3 D tackles / edge rushers I named. Maybe one more, like Miles Murphy, Nolan Smith, one of those guys could go. So that puts you to 9. And do you think Bijan will be there at 16 or not?
Unless Philly takes him, yes. Unless Philly takes him when someone trades up for him. I think people are linking him to Atlanta. I don't see Atlanta taking him.
Yeah, so I would say besides the guys we want, there's like 9 or 10 guys that are going to be taken. And then it's the corners in Banks, Witherspoon, and Gonzalez, and then Branch, and then Paris Johnson in the tackles, and the other 2 as well. So it'll be tight. Maybe we get one of those guys available at 16, besides Banks and Branch, which I think those guys will be there unless the Patriots take Brian Branch, because I know they probably would love that because, Bill Belichick loves his Alabama players. So and I think that's a guy Ron would love if he's there. Not maybe at 16, but if they trade back and he's still there, I could see that tempting Ron. But I kind of agree with you. I think they're leaning towards offensive line in the first, and then maybe in the second they'll take a Keely Ringo or an Emmanuel Forbes if they're there.
And then there's that fact that Ron, in his 12 years as a head coach, has never drafted a DB in the first round. Never. He's not drafted one DB in the first round whole time as a coach.
Yep. And one thing also, we didn't talk about this, but Joey Porter Jr., Keim reported
out.
It's not happening. And with Keim, when he says something like that, firm, someone quoted him on Twitter, and then he responded I feel pretty good about this one, when someone was oh, Keim doesn't even know. And it's surprising to see the amount of mock drafters still putting him there at 16. I listen to Bucky Brooks, and I listen to their podcast all the time. Bucky
Move
Brooks.
the Sticks.
Yeah, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah. And the other day they were going through it, and he asked Bucky Brooks, who was in the Carolina front office, I believe, and played there. And he's like, what's the cornerback you could see fit really, really well with the Commanders? And he said, Joey Porter, man. He reminds me a lot of Josh Norman. So don't think it's going to happen. Who knows? But I feel confident with what Keim is saying that Joey Porter will not be the pick.
Those national guys don't follow this like we do. They don't know. But we will finally, now that Snyder left, they will finally not have this stench about us, and they will pay more attention to us because they're so out of touch and off base when they talk about our roster. I'm listening to them. They're just now coming around to realizing that we have talented receivers. They're like, oh, Sam Howell has weapons in Washington. They're like, I know, we've been telling you. He kind of has running backs and receivers.
They haven't even realized that we're starting Hal until this last couple of weeks.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, but Joey Porter, I hope he goes in the top 16. We're not taking him, so if he goes there, that's a player we're not taking him. We're not taking. If a team takes him, that's great. That's another player that we want on the board still there. So hopefully, I'm praying someone takes him. I mean, he's gonna be he's a good prospect.
Oh, he's really good.
Just not a fit for us.
I don't want him here, but he's going to be really good. I like.
Yeah, as as much as I think he could probably still play well here. I'm going to get those flashbacks of William Jackson III, and I just don't want that possibility of him not fitting with the scheme and everything.
You know who should take him?
Who?
Our brothers up the Beltway, Baltimore. He would be great in Baltimore.
Yeah, with Marlon Humphrey.
Yes, that would be a tandem there. I can see
that would be a good fit. That'll be interesting what they do, and also what the Aaron Rodgers thing. If we get to the draft and after day one he's still not traded, if I'm a Jets fan, I'm very concerned because at that point how dramatic and how much of a drama queen Aaron Rodgers is that he could be like, you know what, this is taking too long, I'm retiring. I could see that happening. I don't think it will, but if it takes too long, Who knows? Brennan is talking about Hendon Hooker.
I'd throw up.
If they draft him in the first,
If they traded up for Hendon Hooker,
yeah,
I would throw up
he
on stream.
he said not in the first, which okay, yeah. If they trade up for him in the first, I don't know what I'm doing. If in the second round, if they trade up from, still not happy about it, but like okay, it's not as nearly as bad as you doing in the first. And if they trade up in the third, like let's say they traded back in the first, got some assets, and maybe moved up into the top half of the third round and drafted Hendon Hooker. Do I want that to happen? No, but I'll be okay with that. But I think he'll be there. He's not going to be there at 47. I don't think.
Oh,
I think
not.
a team like the Vikings pick
he's going to go round one.
Yeah, and the Vikings pick us before us in both rounds. Like I could see the Vikings taking him in the second round for sure if he's somehow still there. Emmanuel says, "Do you think Payne and Allen is a better duo than Dan Wilkinson?"
Pedro ain't never seen them play.
Yeah,
Pedro too young.
I'm too young for that.
I saw them boys a little bit. I saw the ass end of them being here. I saw Big Daddy Wilkinson take a fumble 80 yards for a touchdown and Damon Stubberfield. But the Pedro way too young for them.
I've heard the names, but never ever seen them play at all. But hey, I think Payne and Allen are the best D tackle duo in the NFL right now. Both Pro Bowlers last year, and they're hungry. And I think they're a great
contracts signify that too.
Exactly, and they're both under contract. And I love that we got the Payne deal done early because we will save some money, but not just that. But we don't have to worry about the drama. Like I could have seen, like Payne didn't do it last year, but under a franchise tag, I could have seen him like, okay, I'm gonna hold out during OTAs and stuff. I could have seen that, that could have happened, right? But now we avoid that. There's no drama at all. He's under contract, and other guys already, there's drama with like Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence. There's no drama here. He got signed, and I think it's a reasonable deal. We said it. Like it was going to be over 20 million. If Jonathan Allen got like 18.5 2 years ago, 2 years later, there's no way he doesn't get over 20 after getting 11 plus sacks.
And these are interior guys. That's why when people come to me with this Disney movie dream of signing Chase and Montez, I'm like, bro, do you understand that the edge market is different than the interiors? Like we're talking north of $25 million for both of these guys a piece. A year annually for these guys. It's edge rusher market. They get paid like quarterbacks.
Hey, I hope their market value is over 25 mil, because if it is, it means they're balling out. What's up, James? So one thing brought up the edge rushers, we'll talk about it like a minute, not much. But Shakatoni, we saw what happened there. He's suspended for the year. And do I necessarily agree with the rules that the NFL have in place where like you suspend and you're out for a year versus like some of these guys who like committed crimes or out for like whatever 4-6 games or like use enhancing stuff that get out for less games? Do I agree with it? No. Also, the NFL is partnered with like DraftKings and stuff, but you know the rules. You just can't be that stupid to bet on an NFL game. What do you have to win? Like Jameson Williams, what he did was still stupid, but at least he bet on college football. And,
that he did it in the building is hilarious, though.
Yeah, it's crazy that you can bet on it outside the building, but in the building, you can't bet on it. It's whatever. They can bet on NBA, anything, just not NFL. Shakatoni, don't know what was going through his mind there. He's getting released. I don't know how he's not released yet. There's no reason to keep him on the roster. I mean, after doing something like that, I don't necessarily want you on the team unless you're someone like Jameson Williams. And he was like, I don't know. I don't even know if he was going to make the roster. If the Commanders drafted another edge, he wasn't making the roster at all because you already have, let's see, Chase, Montez, Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Fedarian Mathis. That's 5 right there. James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill, those guys are over him. That's 7. Effie Obata, that's 8. Those guys are probably all over him. And then John Ridgeway, that's 9. So if we drafted another guy, he wasn't making the team. So I don't think it really affects the Commanders, but just kind of a stupid move by Shaka Tony. He's losing like $1 million.
Oh yeah. Oh man, my man got a good question for me. He said, since I'm a little older, position by position, who is my starting 4 defensive line and starting 5 offensive line all-time Redskins commander? I'm not old enough to have seen the Hogs, but offensive line, I'll give you Trent on the left side, Chris Samuels on the right side, kick John Jansen in the right guard with Brandon Sheriff as the left guard. Give me Corey Raymer as the center. Defensively, the 2 interior guys we have right now, I'm taking them over almost anything ever. Throw me Ryan Kerrigan on one side, throw me Montez Sweat on the other side, and let's go. You know, that's how I stack it up.
The only one maybe Dexter Manley could be in there for a bit, but that's really it.
I was just going off guys I watched though. Like I was just going off guys like I've seen. Like I know all time you would put in Dexter Manley or somebody.
Joe Jacoby too.
Yeah. Offensively, Joe Jacoby, but I didn't watch them. You know?
Yeah, same. I wasn't even close to watch him. I've never watched Sean Taylor play. So.
Over Trey Johnson. Yeah. Sheriff got busy, man. Sheriff was an all-pro. He was our only all-pro in forever.
Hopefully that changes this year. Hopefully we get maybe Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne get all-pro. Because the thing is, with these all-pros, it's voted on by the media, and it's all about narratives and stuff like that. So someone like Deron Payne, who had 11 sacks for the first time in his career, he wasn't going to make it. But next year, if he has that same production, people are like, okay, this guy's done it 2 years in a row, and they already had his name in their head. So I could see someone like Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen, like they're getting their respect that they deserve, and making the Pro Bowl. Jonathan Allen 2 years in a row. And finally, Terry made it, and same thing with Deron Payne, which I'm very happy about. So let's see. What's your worst case scenario at 16? For me, I just talked about it. Edge rusher, do not want to happen. Or if they draft some, edge rusher is probably mine.
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker, yeah. But I would be very surprised if they draft him at 16. I
would hate that.
I hope he gets drafted before. I don't think he will be drafted before us, and I don't think that's a good pick to draft a guy at, draft a 25-year-old at before 16.
The 3 things I would hate at 16: Hendon Hooker. I would hate a linebacker because I don't even think any of the linebackers are worth a first-round pick this year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't think one is worth a first-round pick. Those 2, and if we were to take a defensive, let's just call it defensive lineman. I don't want an edge rusher or an interior guy. Just leave the defensive line alone. We have 4 first-round picks. 2 of them already signed. 1 due up for a contract, and 1 we're still trying to figure out if we're picking up the option on. So
and we drafted Pedro Mathis last year, and we have John Ridgway, who's a dog too. So even in the second round, I would still disagree with it big time because it would be an exact repeat of the Pedro Mathis thing of last year, except for I think at this moment in time, you have better depth at the edge rusher position than you had at the D tackle position going into the draft last year. So you have far bigger needs because if you draft someone in the first, we need O-line or cornerback. So we're going to draft one of those in the first. The other one should probably be in the second or the third. So if you draft someone in the second, then I would say third round is when it starts. The earliest I would take one.
See, Ron, I need Ron. It appears he gets it now. And Ron is, based on some of the comments I've seen that he said to media recently and about new ownership coming in, he gets it that he's on a 1-year contract pretty much because new ownership's going to come in and vet and evaluate the situation. And most likely, it at least has been the case for the last 6 times ownership has changed hand. Within a year, the coach was fired. And he's already experienced that being the coach of the Carolina Panthers. He has to go for it this year. So everything his first 3 picks need to be immediate impact players that are going to start or compete to start right away. He doesn't have time to draft guys for the next regime. So he has to draft guys that are going to make immediate impact. He should do what we did in 2020 or 2019 and trade back up into the end of the first round, we should pick twice on night one because Ron has to win 10, 11 games this year. He has to. And that still may not change the minds of ownership because it's a full body of work. This year is not just the microcosm that they're looking at when it comes to evaluating Ron's job. It's a full body of work of his time here and them putting their own blueprint and fingerprints on the rebuilding of the franchise. So he needs to be aggressive.
Yep. And this is off topic, but I mean, kind of on topic, but Ron, we know how Dan Snyder had like no money. So we couldn't be creative with the cap. I'm interested to see with him being gone if Martin Mayhew and those guys are a little bit more creative. We'll find out. Was it Dan? Was it Martin? Or was it the combination of the two? Because you saw the wizardry that Howie Roseman pulled off with the Jalen Hurts contract, the cap hits that deal got. Like, it's like, how?
It's a monopoly money. It's ridiculous.
If we did that, the cap hit would be like 45 every year because they don't know how to do it, or it's because they didn't have. Dan does not give them the money for signing bonuses.
Learn how to cook them books, man. You better learn how to cook them books, man.
Exactly. So we'll see. This season is going to be very, very interesting to see. Like, okay, how does the team do? But also, does the new ownership bring in a new group? Because for me, I just don't see, and I know a lot of people want to talk about Eric Bieniemy being our head coach. I would like it. I just don't see it happening.
Not likely.
Because exactly, if we are not good this year, it's not going to be because of our defense. Because we know our defense is going to be good, or at least average, but probably top 5, top 10. If we're not good, it's going to be because of our offense. And if we're really good, if we win 11, 12 games and our offense is explosive and everything, Ron's probably not going to get fired, especially if we win like a playoff game. So I think
the thing is, I think he still would lose his job though, because this is how it goes. Like this is how it goes when a new owner buys the team. They don't stick around. Like a year evaluation. Ron is literally the only coach that has made it more than 1 year with new ownership, and they fired him mid-season the second year. The other 4 head coaches of the last 5 teams that have changed ownership, they were all fired within one year, 365 days of the new ownership being there. That is just how this thing goes. Like, it is very rare to see it. The Hawks Haven did an article on it about the last 5 change of hands of ownership and how the coaches fared. And 4 of them, a couple of them got fired almost like a couple months later. Like Nathaniel Hackett got fired on Christmas last year from the Broncos. And Ron survived 2 years, and everybody else was within the first season of coaching the team.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. If he wins 8, 9 games, I definitely think he's gone. But like, if they somehow win 11, 12 games and win a playoff game, I could see him being back for another year. And then, it's another 1-year trial period. I could see that.
Let me put an ownership hat on. You're Josh Harris. You have turned Philadelphia and New Jersey Devils teams from trash to contenders. You now own a football team that has inherited a coach that in 12 years as a head coach has 3 winning seasons and has 1 playoff trip since he came to this team. He is now in year 4 of his contract. He takes this team to the playoffs, but you decided you're going to hire a vice president of football operations and a general manager to replace the front office structure that we currently have here. Why would they collaborate on keeping Ron Rivera as the head coach of the organization over 1 year of playoffs?
No, yeah, that's true. I think it's either like, I don't think they would bring in I think
he retires.
Yeah, that could happen. I don't think they would bring in a front office and then keep Ron. I think it's either one or the other, keep the front office and Ron, or get rid of both of them and bring in someone else, which that's what I want. I want someone to come in, and I don't want a coach-centric approach. Give me a wizard as the front office, Adam Peters from San Francisco, or someone like that
like
knows
Borgonzi, Kansas City.
Exactly. Any one of those guys, give me one of those guys, and then they choose who they want around them.
Yep.
They choose the head coach, and that's how you do it. Like the Giants did. We'll see if it works. But the process that they had for hiring Joe Shane and then Brian Dable, that worked. First year, we'll see how it works after that. But I like what they did there. And the coach-centric approach, it only really works for the elite of the elite. And we do not have that here. Ron Rivera is not an elite coach at all.
Yep.
And he should not be the general manager. I mean, he's technically not the general manager, but at the same time, he is. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. We'll wrap up in a few minutes here. If you guys have any more questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. We didn't really talk about day 2 real quick. What are some positions you want us to draft on day 2?
I guess we got to see how the first round looks. I imagine we're not taking a tight end on day 1. So tight end, DB, because I feel so confident that it's going to be a lineman in the first. It's going to be an old lineman in the first round. So I'm looking linebacker, corner, and tight end after we take that. And don't sleep on a running back being drafted. Like that could come at some point. I think it's going to be day 3, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was day 2.
Yeah, I would not mind a running back in the 5th, 6th, 7th round at all. You find steals there every single year. I mean, mid-round guys always work out at the running back position. I mean, last year, not always, but I'm saying there's a lot that do work out. Like Isaiah Pacheco last year, Dameon Pierce. You can even throw Brian Robinson there because he was a late 3rd round pick. There's a lot of guys that work out there in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, even undrafted guys. So maybe they do that. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, Rio, for coming on. Of course, make sure you guys check out his channel. Again, hit that name in the title. It'll take you to his channel. If you're watching the replay, go ahead and hit that link in the description. And stay tuned for great content from both of us. Rio's going to have some mock drafts and then also the prediction video. You got anything else to plug, Rio?
Yeah, man. That, and I'm gonna be live. You're doing a live stream on first round of the draft night too, right?
Probably on Juan's channel, but yeah.
Okay. Yep, I'm gonna be live with my boys, me, Tay Todd, Jalen, my boy Alex, and my boy Zach. We're gonna be on there reacting to everything happening in the draft. Last year was wild. It got chaotic. We forgot we were on camera a few times, so that's gonna be interesting because you're just getting raw reaction of the draft. And I don't want to melt down. I want to have a good first round of the draft, but you never know with this team. So draft content aplenty after each pick. I'm pretty sure we're all pushing out content. I love this time of year. I love watching everybody's video, seeing everybody's different takes on everything. It's our time to shine, man.
Exactly. Day 1 and day 2 are pretty fun. And day 3 is a little bit as well, but then it gets a little tiring, especially when they get those 3 7th round picks. But I'm excited for sure to see everything kind of finalized.
I'm gonna go to the draft party on day 3. I think up to National Harbor. I think I'm gonna be up there.
Okay, fair. I think Ed might be going as well. That should be fun. But yeah, man, appreciate you coming through. Of course, make sure to sub up to both of us. And peace, guys.
Deuces.